We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you if I don't say the words that make...
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. This is a pre-recorded show. It's a fans forum. Unfortunately, we're having to record this on Saturday night. Not a great night for anyone to jump on. So me and Chippers will look back at Newcastle United against Wolves. Of course, it was a 2-2 draw at Molineux, which left on Saturday night Newcastle in 6th. Obviously, results on Sunday will have changed that, I'm sure. But I predicted a draw down there. I didn't feel Newcastle United were going to be able to win the game. And to be honest, Chippers, I think the draw is a fair result. I mean, I watched the game. I didn't go to the game. Sometimes you get a better idea of what the performance is like when you sit and watch it on TV. I think the worst thing about watching it on TV is having to listen to the commentator and Don Goodman again. He's got to be one of the most biased commentators in known to man. Whenever Newcastle are playing games, he clearly wants us to lose. I mean, I know he used to play for Sunderland, but it's getting beyond a joke. But yes, Newcastle United 2, Wolves 2. Newcastle, I guess Eddie Howe will probably feel a little bit a bit upset in the sense that Callum Wilson gave Newcastle a lead on the 22nd minute. Lamina, who came back from suspension, managed to get an equalise on the 36th minute. Then Newcastle got a penalty. We'll talk about that in due course, I'm sure, to go 2-1 up. But then Huang Hee-chan got in at the back post in the 71st minute to make it 2-2. Both teams had chances in the game to win it. And Newcastle, I thought, weren't as good in the first half as probably they were in the second half. And I just think it was a fair result. I think it was a good game. It was a good game for the neutral, Chippers.
Well, I think after the news about Tonali on Friday night, I think it was just get the game out of the way with, because that just set the tone, I think, for the whole sort of thing. The fact that it took till 7:30, 8 o'clock on a Friday evening for them to ban him was, the ban was coming, but I think a bit more notice would have been a bit better than the cock-up that's happened regarding it. But I just think it's a case of I don't know. I'm in the mixed camp of today. I thought, draw was the right result, but it's a game that you can look back on and think 2 errors, and they've scored from 2 errors that we seem to have made, as opposed to us being cut open or them doing a well-worked goal. I think that we'll look back and think the 2 goals that we should have stopped. But then again, they might say the same about the goals that we scored. I mean, the penalty, I think it's a penalty. I mean, you can't do that in the box, whether it's deliberate or not. But that's why I think it's a penalty. But in all circumstances, you take the draw now because they've beaten the likes of Man City at home. They've got a good record. Gary O'Neill's doing well there. But again, I'll swing it back to our side. I think, honestly, we will look back and think we could have won that game. It's a bit, it feels like a defeat, but then you feel like, with all the injuries and things like that, that's gone against you take the draw.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying about, errors. I mean, I saw on social media a lot of people having a pop at Nick Pope, saying Nick Pope was to blame. The first time, the first goal, he was in no man's land, and obviously then, they scored the second goal. It was a punch out from him, which led to a defensive mistake, which led to the second goal. I mean, I think it's harsh to say that it was Nick Pope's fault. I've got to be perfectly honest. He isn't great with crosses. He isn't good coming for the ball. He looks awkward. That is something I've pointed out on this show on more than one occasion. However, as a shot stopper, he's superb. And there was a couple of chances in today's game where Wolves thought they'd scored had it not been for Pope going down and making the save. So, show me a perfect goalkeeper. There isn't one. They're few and far between, and every goalkeeper has an error inside him. And I think you make a valid point there about the team, about the squad. And look, we know Newcastle United are in the middle of a big run of games again. Taking up to the next international. The next international break, we've got these games in the Champions League, the Carabao Cup, and the Premier League, and it's not easy. We knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I think the starting lineup today of Pope and goal, Trippier, Lascelles, Shaw, Byrne, Bruno, Longstaff, Joe Linton, Almiron, Gordon, and Wilson was a really good starting 11. And I think it's when you look at the subs bench, you realise we are struggling. Dubravka and Gillespie were on the bench, Dummett and Ritchie. Target, Kraft, Hall, Livramento, and Willock. So, I mean, you're looking there. 1, Livramento, 2, Hall, 3, Kraft, 4, Target, 5, Dummett. So you've got 5 defenders, and you've got Gillespie and Dubravka, 2 goalkeepers, and Willock, who came on, obviously, is our player who could change the game, if you like. But that just shows you how threadbare we are at the minute, Chipper. So I think a point was good today, especially the form that they're in. We talked about it pre-match. Man City got beat 2-1, Aston Villa 1-1, Bournemouth away 2-1. But Newcastle went into this game on a good run of form as well. So, it was always going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I mean, we're still, was it 8 league games unbeaten now? So that keeps us shows that despite how we're hard to beat. I just think it's a case of, as I said, I think all injuries, everything, it's a good result, and I don't know. I think Trippier did, like I said, I think Trippier had probably one of his worst games, and then seemingly the last 10 minutes was when he would play his best, when I thought he would have no petrol left in the tank.
Yeah,
I think I think Bruno and Shaw were our best 2 players without doubt. I thought Bruno was outstanding. I thought Shaw was just outstanding. I thought Dan Burn had a really good game at left back. I mean, I thought Neto had a good game for them, but he kept quiet a lot, and then obviously his hamstring goes. So that's the thing. I was a bit surprised with Miggy coming off. I know he didn't really, his work rate was there. He didn't really do much in the game, but I thought if anyone wants to come off, maybe Joe Linton, because 3 games in a week after coming back. I thought he did okay. I thought he got better in the game get on, so he looks like he's getting fitter again. But it is what it is. Wilson's got 90 minutes under his belt, so how's that going to be on for Wednesday? We don't know, because he's played 4 games now, and was it 12 days or something, 10 days or something? So we'll have to see how fit he is. But yeah, again, I think Anthony Taylor, the referee, was a bit. Yeah, I don't rate him as a referee, Anthony Taylor. I know he gave her a pen, but I don't rate him. 2 stops started sometimes, but again, it's a game unbeaten. We'll move on, and hopefully we'll stuff Man U on Wednesday night, isn't it?
Hi Barry, good evening, mate. Newcastle United 2, Wolves 2, a draw for Newcastle. Another point. The unbeaten run goes on. What's your take on that, Barry? Are you disappointed? Do you think we could have won it? Are you happy that we got away with a point because Wolves are in good form? Could we have lost the game? I mean, there's a lot of questions about today. I'm happy. I mean, you joined in, you didn't hear it. I'm happy with a point. I predicted a point, and I'm happy with it on the balance of that game.
I think
you look at the chances we had, and obviously how Wolves played. I mean, I like listening to. I mean, obviously, you know, I don't go to a lot of the matches, so I watch them where I can on the TV, usually with Radio Newcastle on the background. And I was listening to John Anderson towards the end, Steve, and he was just like, Newcastle don't deserve a point out of this. They haven't put enough effort in. They haven't. They've scored the goal well. The penalty was very close decision, whether it was a one or not. And I think overall, I think the draw was a fair result. I think we struggled again. This passing through the middle of the pitch that was so good at just doesn't seem to be there at the minute. I totally agree with Sam. I think Bruno had a good game. I think Dan Burn was okay. He made a couple of mistakes, but he managed to get himself back into it. I mean, Ando said that it was Trippier's worst game he's seen him play for Newcastle, and watching it, I'm not too far off myself. I thought he was very sort of hit and miss, which is unusual for him. I know it's probably good compared to some players, but for Trippier's high standards, I don't think he was up there. And I think they could have won the game had they taken their chances. I think that at times they were there for taking, but I think it could have quite easily gone the other way as well. So, like you say, I think a point is a fair result away from home, and you build on it. The only worry is, obviously, if that team plays like that in the games we've got coming up against better opposition, and then are we going to really struggle? Or are they going to pick up their game and improve? I don't know how it's going to work.
I mean, Chip has made a point about Nick Pope, saying that he was at fault for, you know, at least one of the goals, you know, if not two. Yeah. I mean, the first goal, you know, he came out, he flapped, which he's got a habit of doing. And, you know, it did lead to the first goal. The second goal for me was unfortunate. He punched the ball instead of catching it. In his defence, the rain was sheeting down on that particular occasion. It could have been slippy. He's gone with what he thought was the right idea. It hasn't worked out because the defence in front of him then made an error, and you know it put Chang through, and he scored the equaliser. So you know it's hard to blame Nick Pope for me. I don't know what your thoughts are on Nick Pope. I mean, I do think we need another goalkeeper to give him some kind of competition, but all in all, I wouldn't say it was down to Pope. And I'll point to the fact that he pulled off some good saves tonight as well, Barry, at times. What was your thought, and what did Ando say? I mean, he was at the game.
He was pretty much the same as you guys. He's a solid keeper, but he does seem to be getting in the habit of flapping at things every now and again. And obviously, it's well renowned. His ability on the ball at his feet isn't the greatest either. His clearances aren't always spot on. He's definitely up there. I mean, for me, he's probably one of the top keepers in the league, but he's never going to be. I mean, I look at it that the two best keepers in the league are the two Brazilians. You've got the Man City keeper and you've got the Liverpool keeper, probably the two best in the Premier League at the minute. And I don't think Pope's ever going to get to that quality. It's whether or not we have to go out and look abroad. I know what I was sort of thinking when Ramsdale was mentioned, saying should we go for him, should we not? And the guys basically said, you know, he kind of get in Arsenal's first team. And it's the way the Ramsdale story is going over the weekend, it sounds more like it's an issue with him and Arteta, the reason he can't get in the team, rather than a bit more sort of favouritism towards the other keeper. But I agreed as well. I think Ramsdale would be very similar to Pope. He wouldn't be a great improvement on him, Steve. I think we're going to have to potentially look abroad to try and find somebody better than Pope. Dubravka, just for me, I loved him before his days of going to Man United. He just doesn't seem interested. He doesn't seem to have any passion for trying to get on. He's obviously not doing enough to Eddie Pope to get to Eddie Howe to get past Pope in the team. And you just think we need to bring in at least a decent second goalie now. Somebody who's going to push Pope and hopefully improve in the way the rest of the team does, because we've got that many good players. That I think somebody said the other day that it's pushing on the rest of the squad. They've got that somebody's behind them now who's not that far away from them. I mean, my worry for today's game, as I looked at the bench that we had out there, and it wasn't a great. Recently, we've had a great substitutes bench, thinking there's quality players to bring on. With the injuries and stuff we've got now, there wasn't a huge amount of quality on the subs bench.
Two goalkeepers, Dubravka, Gillespie, but defenders. Dummett, Target, Kraft, Hall and Livramento, and then two midfielders, Ritchie and Willock.
Well, that's it. Richie hasn't played many games recently, but he does a good job for you. And Willock's just back from injury. I was hoping when he brought Willock on, I was thinking, please don't get injured. You know, it's a lot to ask of the kid to come back on and be actually going for it. And he's what, second game back? Mm-hmm. I was hoping, because I love Willock a bit, and I think he will be a big plus for us, but you've got to give him a chance to get up to speed. But it's shown that Eddie said it in his press conference that maybe the injuries are happening in the wrong positions, that they're hitting positions where we're struggling for strength and depth. But then you think, well, if you know that now, why didn't you look at bringing somebody else into those positions in the pre-season? You know what I mean? Even if it was a young'un, I feel like we brought some quality young players into the under-23 side and whatnot, but we didn't get a striker other than the kid was sent out on loan, who's ripping up the planet at Fernand, but obviously we can't get back because he's on a season-long loan deal and it's non-recallable.
And he's injured now.
Is he injured? Oh, God, no. Oh, bless him. Because he's having a class season. So you look at the rest of the under-23s and you think there isn't a striker of Premier League quality amongst them. There's only Stevenson in there, and he hasn't got any experience at all at that level. So I don't know. They asked Howden about playing Gordon at centre forward, and he did his usual, well, you know, he's done it for this, and he played there for Everton, he's done it for that. And I'm thinking, yeah, but we need Gordon to supply the crosses at the minute, because we haven't got anybody else in that position, with Anderson being injured and Miggy's not firing on all cylinders, and obviously Barnes is injured. But then now everybody's slagging us off for trying to do a fast one to get Ruben Neves, and you think, God's truth. It's like, is there any truth in it at all? I don't know if you guys have mentioned it. It's been all over the place this morning.
I would be very surprised if that happens, mainly because of the connection with Saudi. But you never know. Never say never. I certainly think that Eddie Howe and the transfer team at Newcastle will be looking at it and saying we need to do something. But Eddie, in the press conference, of course, at the weekend, said, we will move. We will move when we know what kind of positions we need to strengthen. So it's going to be, he says a lot could change between now and January. At the moment, he says we're short on the forward department. He says, but by the time January comes, we might have players back, and it could be another area. So he says, I've got eyes on the transfer window, but I haven't. It's not a priority at the moment. So I guess for him, he'd be looking at getting players back earlier. I mean, he did mention potentially having Harvey Barnes back in December, which is an improvement on 2024, which is what he was saying a few weeks back. So Barnes clearly healing a little bit better. We know that Botman's only a couple of weeks away, but he's training. He's not training on grass now, but he is back in training. Yet to find out, of course, what's going to happen with Jacob Murphy. Is he going to go for surgery, which means he'll be out for longer, or is he going to, give it a go, play with the shoulder as it is, because it's clearly been popped back in, and risk putting it back out again innocuously, which could lead to it being damaged for even further. So lots of questions. I think the big blow for me was Anderson. I mean, something as innocuous as a back injury taking you out of the game for best part of 2 months is crazy. It's a big blow. Getting back to the game today, though, Chip, as man of the match for you. I mean, Don Goodman, who I've got to be honest, give the lickings of a dog earlier on for his commentary, has decided to give it to Callum Wilson. I presume that's just because he's a goal scorer and because he scored 2 goals. But for me, getting back to the game, I thought that was one of Bruno's best games of the season. I thought he did very, very well in midfield. I also felt Dan Burn had a good game. And I know a lot of people will be groaning now listening to me say that, but I heard Barry say it. I thought Dan Burn did okay. It's all about opinions. I don't think he had a bad game at all. Defensively, what could you do about those goals? You can either blame the keeper or defensive errors. Interesting. It's interesting. We've all got different ways of looking at the game, but if I had to be pushed, I would say Bruno was man of the match today, Chibas.
Yeah, I would either say Bruno or Shaw. I think they were the 2 standouts. I thought Shaw was outstanding again in defence. Bruno, I think, again, obviously controlled our good parts of the game. So I think one of them too. I wouldn't say like to see either, because I thought both of them played well. So they can both have it for me. They can have a half and half. One can have one half, and the other one can have the other half no matter the match.
That's fair enough. I mean, look, I think it's unfair to pick out a player, really. I mean, I would agree with the commentary team on Sky at the weekend when they said, that there wasn't a bad performance from anybody. It was a great game. I mean, essentially, Wolves could have gone on and won the game after Hwang equalised. But I think when Neto got stretchered off with his hamstring, the momentum swung back to Newcastle, and I think Newcastle could have won the game. But ultimately, I think there was equal chances. I think from my perspective, a draw was a fair result. Man of the match is often given to the goal scorers, isn't it, Barry? When it's a game like that,
I think it is. I think I agree with you too. I think Bruno, again, is the guy who makes us tick. If he's on form, we're on form. And even though we struggled in certain areas of the pitch, I think he looked tremendous. Burn, I would agree, and I would have put Anthony Gordon, had a good go at them. I don't think everything came off the way sometimes he rips people apart, but it's one of those games, isn't it? I know, like I say, somebody queried Ando, not want to keep going back to him, but the guy said, well, we should be winning these games, blah, blah, blah. And he went, it's an away game in the Premier League. Yeah. There's nobody in the Premier League who's crap. You're gonna every team should look at getting a point at least in an away game in the Premier League. If you get more than that, great. There will be games where you'll get the full 3 points, but if you aim for a point, and he went, and I think he's probably right. We can't have the arrogance to just go and say, right, we're going to win this. I mean, last season we had a lot of games where we were better away from home than we were at home at times. But this year it seems to have swung the other way, that it's St James's, bar obviously the midweek game where we struggled a little bit with it. We've been absolutely solid. But yeah, you move. I was over the moon Bruno didn't get booked.
Yeah, me too.
I was sitting thinking, please don't. We can't afford to have him missing as well for the next league game. So that was a huge plus for me.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I mean, the stats for the game, tell you it was a very even game. Newcastle had 56% possession, Wolves 44. They had 11 and 13 shots on at goal. Wolves had 6 on target. Newcastle had 5. And even down to stuff like the passing, 85% for Newcastle for passing accuracy, 81% for Wolves. Tackles, 75% Newcastle, 71% Wolves. Aerial duels, a lot more wins for Wolves on that score, 70% to 30% for Newcastle. More or less equal fouls committed, 15 for Newcastle, 13 for Wolves. Fouls won, 15-13 the other way, of course. 4 yellow cards for the visitors and only 1 for the home team. No sendings off. And as Barry quite rightly points out, no yellow card for Bruno Chippers, which is very important for us because big game coming up, of course, against Arsenal next weekend.
Yeah, it's massive. I don't think it counts if he gets one at Man U, does it? I think it's just
it doesn't.
League game. Yeah, so that's a relief. Unless he gets sent off, of course. I don't know if that counts. Red might count. Yellow, I'm not sure. Yellow doesn't. So, but yeah, he got through it. I mean, I was expecting Lerma because Lerma's a bit of a dick, to be honest, at times. He's quite capable of winding players up. So I was sort of expecting him to possibly try and O'Neill to say to him, go and wind him up, will you? But no, I thought him and Joe Litton, they were pretty steady in midfield. I mean, Bruno was very good. I thought Joe Litton looked, he had the glimpses of him getting himself back. He did the run, was it before half time where he burst into the box and he probably should have scored on another day, but that's positive signs that he's getting back to the levels that he was at. So, but yeah, Bruno again not getting the yellow card, very good for us, and again another topped off a very good performance by not blotting his coffee boot.
Barry, you mentioned Dubravka earlier on. Is there a way back for Dubravka, do you think, or do you think Newcastle will look at signing another goalkeeper? Because I think a lot of Newcastle fans probably point to the fact that when he joined Manchester United, albeit on loan, he made that off the cuff comment about joining a big club, and I think that probably sticks in people's minds. But prior to that, you are right. you know, Dubravka was a great keeper. Newcastle United fans, you know, loved him. There was an affection there between him and the supporters. But, you know, now he can't get a look in. Nick Pope's clearly number one choice. What's your thoughts?
It's one of those things, isn't it? It seems to be a lot of the time it's players who've gone to Man U. It's the Man U connection as well doesn't help. I think had he gone to another club that we haven't got such a huge rivalry with, it might not have been as bad. But then you add on to it, like you say, going to a bigger club. I mean, that's just a kick in the teeth. You know, we know that we're up and coming, that we're getting better all the time, but you don't expect your players to like come out with that sort of attitude. You want your players to help us push on to be at the position Man United. And to be honest, the way Man United are playing at the minute, I wouldn't have said they're a much bigger club than us playing ability-wise anyway. Financially, they might be. I love the guy, Steve. He's a cracking goalkeeper. He seems to have a decent work ethic about him. I think it is one of those ones where he's gone too far. I think sometimes, yeah, you have to just strike it off and say, right, I'm sorry, you know. And I would like to think he would want first team football. He's always appeared to be that type of player, and he's not. I don't think he's going to get it at Newcastle. I think it would take an injury to Pope for him to even get in the team. I think Howe's stuck with. He's got that very loyalty about his players. And I think he obviously highly rates Pope. He's always very sort of confident in the compliments that he pays Nick Pope, that he doesn't take any criticism of him. And I just kind of see Dubravka getting back in the side. I think it could be a one that we could get a few quid for. I would have said the ability's still there for him to play in a half-decent team in the Premier League. But nah, I think we could do with bringing in an experienced keeper, an older keeper, maybe and a young'un. I'm still not sure about Karius. I just don't think he's got any interest in being there either. He doesn't seem to. I mean, God, the guy's going to have the record, isn't he, at this rate of playing one game in a cup final? And that's his record for Newcastle United. It's like, yeah, great. Well done, mate. But that's the only time you showed up. That's the only game you played. And no, I think I would like to see him get a chance. But saying that, maybe he will in the cup game. Maybe you'll chance him in the cup midweek. Because they were saying he was injured, wasn't he? The last time he was supposedly going to be in the side in the last cup match, and he was injured late on.
Okay, what's your thoughts on Dubravka, Chippers? I mean, for me, I think he will potentially play, you know, again before you know, January. I think he may have to. You know, there might have to be a game where he has a run out. But ultimately, for me, I can't see him having a future at Newcastle.
No, I mean, we'll be investing if he plays in midweek and we'll beat Man U at Old Trafford. He plays against them and he has a worldly win. It'll be interesting if that happens. But yeah, I was at this. Was it Bilbao who played last summer in the friendly game with St James's on the Saturday. In the goal they scored, it was similar to Nick Pope. The cross came in, he just didn't come for it. I'm thinking if he comes for it, he gets it, and they scored the header from it. And I think, you know, yeah, he's had some good times in black and white shirts, but when he went to, like, I think as we said before, we went to Man U, and then he said, you know, as soon as he signed, he was watching the game the day he signed. He puts on Instagram watching the boys, and I just think, you know, that was a bit of a bad taste as well for me, because you don't say that on the day you've signed for them, and you've probably never met half the players, and you didn't even give a chance to say, you know, thank you to Newcastle at the time. He just was, you know, like, it was a bit stupid from him, but yeah, I think his time's gone. I don't know if he's out of contract at the end of this season. It's either this season or next season he's out of contract. So again, if he's out of contract, I don't expect him to get a new one. If he isn't, then I expect them to try and sell him in the last year of his contract to get some sort of fee for him.
Let's talk Sandro Tonali. Obviously, we mentioned it earlier. I mean, we thought, and Eddie Howe certainly thought he might be able to be part of the squad down at Wolves. He had to train as if he was going to be involved, but the decision by the Italian Football Federation, you know, obviously came through from FIFA as well, and you know, kaputted that idea. So he was given a 10-month ban for breaching betting rules and won't be eligible to play competitive football or international football until August 2024. The full disqualification for betting on football matches was 18 months, but it was reduced by 8 after Tonali undertook to carry out a therapeutic plan and speak at public meetings in Italy involving gambling addicts. There was other reports as well, of course, that said Tonali will be permitted to train with Newcastle and play non-competitive games, i.e. friendlies, during the ban, I guess. But I'm presuming he can play behind closed doors friendlies. I wouldn't imagine he'd be able to play games, at the start of the season in July, for example, when Newcastle go to places. I don't think he'd be able to do that. But with regards to the community service aspect of the ban, it's claimed that a proportion of the public meetings can be completed online, so at least he doesn't have to go backwards and forwards to Italy. So it was good news, a bit of good news, a bit of bad news. Some of it was bittersweet. We knew there was a punishment coming. It could have been worse. It could have been 2 or 3 years. It's 10 months. It wipes him out for the season. It's a bit like getting a long-term injury. Do you think the punishment was fair, Chippers?
Yeah, I think it's a 50-50 one, because I think, he could have got a lot worse. But then when I see Tony got an 8-month ban and he was betting when he was in that contract in Newcastle for Newcastle to get beat, you think, isn't that worse than what Tonali's doing? Tonali bet on his team. Yes, he bet on his team to win. People will say that. But when you bet on your team to lose, surely that's... sorry, I was just missing by me one. Surely that was... surely that... Actually, we out. So surely that was a bit... Yes, betting on your own team that you're under contract to get beat. Surely that's a worse offence to me. But again, it's done now. We know his sentence. He knows his sentence, and the thing is, he can still train with the squad. He can play non-competitive games. So it's a case of, yeah, he'll come back a bit rusty next summer, but he'll come back fit. He'll not. Yeah, it might take him 4 or 5 decent games to get to a good level, but he's not going to, he's not. When Tony comes back, I think he's going to literally be so ring rusty. It's going to take him a year or 18 months to get fully fit again. It's not going to be that case with Tonali. He's probably going to be a month or so of games, and he'll be back to some decent level. So, yeah, it could have been worse, but could have been lighter. Some people might say, but 10 months, you take it, because knowing Newcastle, it could have been, if it was anybody else, usually they throw the book at the players. So it's done now. We know his sentence. We can move on, and the lad can move on and put all this behind him, hopefully, and now can look forward to having a future at this club and doing positive things. So that's how I look at it.
What's your view on Tonali's punishment? Was it too harsh, or do you think that was right, Barry?
I think looking at you guys have said, looking at the previous bans that have taken place, and obviously the other Italian players that have been banned as part of this whole, it's probably about right. I mean, it's not nice. It's awful when it affects your club, and obviously it's a young lad who hasn't been here 5 minutes, who's wanting to make a name for himself. It's one of those things, isn't it? They say, well, it's boredom, he's got nothing to do. But I don't know. I mean, there seems to be this huge thing about there's lots of it goes on. It's just the downside that these have been caught, or these have been grasped up by somebody and it's been reported. I do think he should be able to train with the club. I can't see any issues with that. It's like, at the end of the day, this is this guy's livelihood. You cannot make him wait 10 months and then have to do another 6 months to get up to fitness so he can actually get back into the side, because obviously how much Eddie expects of the players to be. But he's got to get some sort of punishment, Steve. It can't be something that you're selling to the younger players, or you're thinking to the fans that they are. I mean, betting itself is bad enough on football, but betting for, or I know they're saying he was betting for Milan, but it could have just been as easy that he was betting against his team as well. I think it's just one of those crappy things, isn't it? It's come at an awful time for us because of the injuries and everything else. And obviously it's happened to a player who will learn from it, but we're going to have to wait 10 months before he gets to that stage to prove his worth to us again, which I think is harsh for him. But I think it's probably about right, to be honest.
Callum Wilson at the weekend went into 3rd place in the most goals for Newcastle list, Chippers. Alan Shearer tops it with 148 in the Premier League. Peter Beardsley, 48. Callum Wilson, 44. This is most goals for Newcastle Premier League list. Andy Cole and Shoram Yobi both on 43 is who Callum Wilson leapfrogged. Have we got one of the best strikers in our history? You know, it's a weird one, this, because this record almost seems to have gone along without any kind of recognition. Sky keep pointing it out, but I just feel like I don't know whether we've appreciated Callum Wilson as much as we appreciated Peter Beardsley and Alan Shearer, if that makes sense, Chippers.
I think that's probably down to the generations and the eras that people have been growing up to watching and the teams that they've played in. People also remember Callum Wilson as, I think, a lot of the time he's had injuries here. So if you think of it, last season he missed 3 months of the season. You know, season before got injured, missed a lot of games, got injured under the Bruce season as well. So he scored that many goals. If he was fit, who knows? He might be a clear second already. Again, I think the thing with the Beardsley in that situation is you look at who Beardsley played with. You know, you had Beardsley, Cole, Shearer, Ferdinand. You know, the list goes on of quality he had around him with him. Wilson, for me, at times before last season, you had people like Ryan Fraser, Jacob Murphy. No disrespect, they're not on the same level as they're nowhere near the same level as the quality that Beardsley played with. I think the same with Cole, same with everybody else around him, even Shola, the players he had to play with him were top draw. So, and them players didn't really seem to get injured a lot. I mean, Wilson's had a lot of niggles and a lot of injuries and strains and stuff like that, and that's what some people will remember Wilson for being out as long as playing and scoring. But I think he deserves a hell of a lot of credit because I saw people giving him pelters tonight because he miscontrolled the ball early on, and then he's went and scored 2 goals. And yeah, he had a quiet game, but that's a striker who's in form, doesn't do anything but scores 2 goals. And it's been a while since we've had one of them sort of players. Isak at times does it. He can have a quiet game but score goals. But he's just the typical quality Premier League striker, and it's just a shame he has had those injuries because you think what might have been if he hadn't. He might have had 40 more goals. We never know. It's you know, and he's only been here, was it 4 years? It just tells you how good of a player he is and how good of a record he's got.
What's your views, Barry?
I think the guy. I mean, they said it tonight, didn't they, on the TV that it's a goal every 66 minutes he's got this season, and you just think that is a top scorer, and he takes his chances. He's your traditional number 9. Yes, he gets penalties, but he not off puts them away as well. Sheer look or anything, they're going quite nicely. I think my only disappointment is exactly what you said, Steve, that it's the Premier League is everything. You know, we've got guys on the top scorer list. You like Hughie Gallagher, you've got your Len White, you've got your Jackie Milburns, who've scored loads of goals for us. But because they're pre-Premier League, they don't count. They don't get included, you know what I mean? You're mentioning these other names. But I think, regardless, I think Wilson is up there. He's absolute quality. It's a shame with these injuries, but we've had that with strikers before where they're a little bit injury prone. It shows this season with obviously Eddie Howe in charge and the players he's got supplying the chances to him, that if you give him a decent cross or decent chance anywhere near the goal, he's going to put it away because he is that good. It's just the worry is with Isaac injured, it's a lot of pressure to put on him when he's not used to playing that many games and that many. Well, none of them are. When you look at the extra games we've got this season because of the Champions League, none of them are used to playing 2 or 3 games a week. So it's the worry for me that he picks up a bad injury because of it. I hope he doesn't, and I would like to think he's not really one of those players who he's not going to get fitter by playing more games. Wilson, I think the more games you play him, the more chance he's got of picking up an injury. He's at that stage of his career where he's going to get a knock, and thankfully, touch wood, it hasn't happened yet. You just hope it keeps going as long as possible to get Isaac back in the team. But yeah, the guy's got a great attitude. His goal scoring is absolutely class. Hopefully, long may it continue. I think to give him stick today, it's just like, how many goals did he have to score to get away from it? Are we back to this? We must criticize somebody again. You know, is it going to be Wilson's turn to get some criticism? Because there's plenty of other players today who weren't as good as him. That's mine anyway.
No, fair enough.
He scored,
okay,
he scored
go
7 goals. Sorry, I was just going to say he's got 7 goals in 10 games this season. What I don't see what the problem is there.
It's just
goal scoring since April. Callum Wilson is Premier League leading goal scorer since April this year. 18 goals. He's ahead of Haaland. He's ahead of Salah. So that tells you all you need to know about him. And guess who's in second place? Alexander Isak.
Harry Kane.
Alexander Isak. Newcastle United have got the best forward line. You know, this is probably the best forward line since Shearer and Ferdinand. If they played together, but they don't. You know, obviously very little chance to play together. Either one's injured or the other's injured. But look, we're moving in the right direction with forward players, I certainly think, and we just need a little bit of luck with injuries. That's for certain. Okay, Newcastle United play in the 4th round of the Carabao Cup this week. The reward for beating Man City in the 3rd round is a visit to Old Trafford, which is, of course, a rerun of last season's Carabao Cup final. It's an 8:15 kickoff. It's live on Sky Sports, and an outcome must be achieved on the night via a penalty shootout if the scores are level after 90 minutes. 7,000 Newcastle United fans will be down there. That's a hell of an away support for a midweek game at that stupid time. But it's something which we shouldn't be surprised at all. Obviously, we're pre-recording this show, so Manchester United and Manchester City will have played now. So no updates on players being injured, etc. But with Newcastle, it looked as if most players came through unscathed against Wolves. Obviously, Eddie Howe will have a press conference prior to the game on Wednesday, so we will find out more then and see whether there's any players likely to return. The referee has been selected for the Carabao Cup game, and that is Robert Jones. This is a second appointment for the Scouser, and it's another day in Manchester for him, as he refereed our 1-0 defeat at the Etihad Stadium back in August. And don't forget, there is no VAR in the Carabao Cup, so no VAR official. Okay, Chippers, Carabao Cup. I guess where does this rank in important games to Eddie Howe? Is it important because it's the next game? Is it important because it's a chance to progress in a cup that we could win? How do you think he's going to approach this one?
I think he's going to have to see who's available first before how he approaches it. I think the fact of on Saturday he made 1 substitution in the whole game says to me the players who were on the bench that didn't get on are probably the players who are going to start it. So you may see Dubravka or Gillespie play. You may see Dummett play, you may see Hall play, you may see Livramento play, you may see Richie play. You may Willock. I don't think Willock will start yet. I think it's far too early for him to come back. Again, we don't know the situation with Botman, etc. Obviously, you know, Isak's going to be out. Anderson's going to be out. Murphy, we don't know him, whether he's going to have an operation or not. So there's lots of if, buts, and maybes. I mean, Casemiro's got a red card in the Manchester derby yesterday, so, you know, he's going to be missing. Touch wood. But no, if he gets, we'll know he's quite capable of being a hothead. So I would be targeting him to get him wound up because he falls for a hook, line, and sinker. But if Callum Wilson's playing and they're playing Harry Maguire or Johnny Evans in defence, you've always got a chance against them because it's like playing 2 old biddies at centre half, isn't it? And you know, Callum Wilson will be licking his lips thinking I've got a chance against them, and Gordon as well with his pace. My United aren't a team to be scared of. I'm not scared of us playing them. I'm more worried on our side as to who's going to be available as opposed to we're playing Man United. I think if we had a fully fit squad, I would have no qualms in us going there and getting through because they're that bad at the minute. I mean, I think any team's capable of beating them. I'm just more worried, like I said, on who's going to be available to play for us, and we might see some shock names on the team sheet because we might see some names that we've never seen there before. So, but yeah, I mean, we might have some number 80s and 90s playing for and 45s and 50s. So, but he's on the Wraith. Is he on the Wraith?
Big shout out to Ian. How are you, mate?
Morning, Paul.
Is he on the
Not too
bus?
bad.
Yeah, he's on the bus.
It's the bus. He's travelling fast otherwise.
Give us your views on the game, Ian.
Views were, I thought we definitely deserved the point. I thought we should have won. I thought we should have won, to be honest. But yeah, the ref gave us fuck all, didn't he? He was a right knobhead, baldy bastard. But yeah, no, I had a good time, didn't we, Tommy?
What?
Oh, look.
Tommy, what did you make of the game today?
Take your headphones off. Steve's asking what you thought of the game.
I thought we were okay. I thought Bruno and Shaw were both really good.
Yeah.
But I think we should have won, definitely.
Was
not great.
Yeah.
A bit scrappy. But
Bruno was class, like.
We give Bruno man of the match, mate. We thought Bruno was man of the match today.
Yeah, he was excellent.
What did you make of the controversial incidents? I mean, it was definitely a penalty for me. I don't think Wolves could have any complaints about that.
I don't think so. Like, it was hard to see we were right on the halfway line. We were only like three rows back on the halfway line, so we were a distance away from all the major decisions. But yeah, I thought it looked like a pen from where we were. And I just thought like the ref wasn't giving us the lickings of a dog, you know what I mean? So it was fucking just one of them where it was a bit like frustrating every time there was a 50-50, it went against us, but that's the way it is, isn't it? You know what I mean? So I thought we did all right, but Bruno was excellent. I thought it's good.
We don't want to lose you because we know the reception can be bad. Just give us a quick prediction, Ian, for Manchester United in the cup on Wednesday.
Man United, my prediction is that I'll possibly be there. That's half a prediction. I actually think we'll do them. I think we'll beat them 2-1.
2-1. And what about Arsenal at the weekend? I know it's difficult.
Arsenal at the weekend, yeah, it's a tough one. I want to say we'll win, but I think realistically, I think we'll probably come away with a 1-1 draw. 1-1
draw. Okay, listen, Ian, thanks for joining us. Have a safe journey back, mate.
Nice one.
Bye,
Cheers,
Tommy.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye. Great to have Ian on the show. This is a pre-recorded show. Don't forget, folks, we had to record this on Saturday straight after the show. It's going out on Monday, though. So yeah, Chippers, prediction for this one. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with a 1-1 after 90 minutes, and I'm going to go for a Newcastle win on penalties.
I was going to say exactly the same. I was going to say penalties. Wouldn't it be great to win a penalty shot at Old Trafford? Hopefully, in front of the Stretford and to send them all crying and get 10 hag the sack. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic.
It would be, wouldn't it? Barry, what's your thoughts on the match then? Man United. Is this important to Eddie? Is it because Eddie at his press conference is probably going to say it's important because it's our next game. You know, he won't give anything away. He won't tell anyone it's a priority. But it must be in the back of his mind that if he beats Manchester United, if you can get a favourable draw in the next round, you know, you're into the quarters, you know, then you've been in the semis, you've got the Wembley feeling again. And, you know, it's a chance again to get back to Wembley.
It's got to be, I mean, he's got Arsenal at the weekend. He's got the return game against Dortmund coming up the week after. It's to go for the win against Man United, they're really going to have to put some effort in, and then you've got the worry that somebody else picks up another injury, Steve.
Yeah.
It's just cut you guys said it, I think, on the Friday show that they've got some absolute horror games coming up over the next 4 games, and we've hit a really bad patch injuries-wise and everything else, and obviously Tonali's ban is just the time when we probably needed them most. I mean, even the youngins who were coming through is obviously with the likes of Lewis Miley's picking up injuries. So it's not even just the first team that we're struggling with. It seems to be right across the board. I do agree with Chippers. I think Man U were there for the taking, but I really don't want to see penalties and sit there at the end going, "Let's waiting for the thing." And then that's was the thing with Dubravka playing. He is pretty much a penalty expert stopper.
Yeah,
but like Chippers has just said, I never even entered in my head thinking, well, this is the club that he said were tremendous and the fans that he said were amazing when he left us. Is he going to block his copybook against them? Maybe we should be playing Gillespie just to make sure he doesn't chuck a wobbler.
But
Oh God!
I was just gonna say, Pope's an actually good penalty god, good penalty record,
Yes.
saving penalties as well.
For me, as a fan, and I know I've said this before, for Newcastle to move forward, they've got to do well in the league and they've got to compete in the Champions League. That's where the money is. You know, this is where the bread and butter comes from. The cup is great. It would be lovely to see us win a trophy in the cup before our carpet. You know, it would be nice to get some sort of silverware. But at the same time, if we could turn Arsenal over at the weekend and get at least a point off Dortmund, would I give that up for a place in the cup? So hard, because like you say, we'll be through at the quarterfinals. We've knocked out 2 of the decent teams. Hopefully, our look will get Arsenal or somebody in the next round anyway, the way our look's scanning at the minute. I'm so glad Alan not on here. Well. I really want to see put out the young'uns against Man United and keep the rest for the weekend.
So what's your prediction then?
I think we're going to get... I've got a horrible feeling it's going to be ones apiece and then we're going to get beat.
Okay, so you're going for a penalty defeat.
Yeah.
And Arsenal at the weekend, Sam, prediction, I'm going to go with what Ian says. I'm going to go for a draw in that game. I'm going to go 1-1.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's St. James's, I think the fans will, you know, I know people will question the atmosphere the other night, but I think this one will get it up. I know it's a Saturday evening. People obviously have been off. Most people have probably been off work. I think the atmosphere will be a lot more. People will be up for it because, you know, there was a lot of to and throwing about the atmosphere last week, and I think people will want to change that and people will want to prove that that was just a one-off. And yeah, I think we'll get a draw. I mean, it depends again who's going to be available for us. I like to think that nobody gets a red card in midweek, that we all come through with a clean bill of health, and who knows, maybe a curveball's thrown in, i.e. a Botman's back, or Murphy's playing through adrenaline, or Isaac's made a miracle recovery and back in a week. You don't know with Eddie Howe because he doesn't give anything away, so who knows. But yeah, I think we can get a draw against them at home. I think if we had a guaranteed list of who's going to be fit, we could. Chelsea proved last week they're there to be got at. It's just Chelsea at the minute are just all over Hexham, aren't they? They're doing that. That's that bad. They've threw 2 in the lead away against them. So, but yeah, 1-1 for me.
1-1 for you. I'm going 1-1. What about you, Barry, against Arsenal?
I think I'd go the same. I'd say 1-1 as well. I think that we'll put up a good fight. But I think exactly what you guys have just said. I think if we had a full team out, we could take them at home. If we had everybody fit, I think we are capable of giving. There's only Man City we are going to struggle against at home, and even then we've played well against them. The last couple of seasons against Arsenal, we've really gone for them. I just think it's a shame. It's at the moment when we're struggling for players, but football's one of those things, isn't it? You never know what's going to happen. I think the crowd will get behind them. I do think the Dortmund was a one-off. Saying that, I don't think even the Dortmund game was that bad for the fans. I think they were just outshouted at times by the Dortmund fans who were completely nuts.
And that bloody drum.
They're not the most sensible of fans at the best of times, and I think that's like Chipper says, they'll give the fans something to prove that they are, that St. James's is a fortress, and go for it. Go for ones apiece against Arsenal and hopefully move on to next week, get a few more players back.
Great stuff. That has been a great fans forum. Thanks to Ian for jumping on. Thanks to Chip and Barry. As I say, pre-recorded shows this week with me working away. But thank you everyone for joining in. Tuesday night, we'll see me do the Champions League show. That's with Melly Barnes, of course, the Manchester United lad from up here. It's quite a good show. We've already pre-recorded that, and we do look ahead to the Manchester United Carabao Cup game as well. Okay, thanks very much, lads. Take care.
Have a good week, Steve.
Good night, all.
And you.
Cheers,
bye,
man.
lads.
Ta-ra.
A big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find out more about them from their website, mrvickies.co.uk, or by calling 01768 210 102. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things.
And thanks to United Group Travel, UK coach holiday firm based in Morpeth. There's no strangers on their tours, just people you haven't met yet. They're now taking bookings for 2024. You can call 01670 632 460, 0791 666 4174, or 07957 141 654, or go to the website unitedgrouptravel.com. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button underneath the video today. We still do 7 shows a week. Hit the thumb up under the video to like it. It does us a big favour. Click share to share to your other social media and let people know about NUFC Matters. We're also a podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to help the show financially, you can take out a £25 one-off membership. You get a scarf, a pen, a cup, and a membership card. How do you get it? Go to nufcmatters.com, look for membership. If you've got a smartphone, then put your smartphone over the QR code and it will take you straight to that section on the website. We also support the food bank on this channel. You can donate to the food bank today by going to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. We do support events on this channel as well. If you've got an event, please send it in and we'll promote it. The Tyne Theatre and Opera House are doing a Keegan, Beardsley and Waddle event, the Class of 84, 25th of January 2024. Book now by calling 0844 249 1000. And the Tyneside Irish Centre, they're doing an event with Frank Clark and John Gibson on Thursday, December the 7th. You can get tickets from nufcmatters.com and they are priced at £15. There's also some tickets available on Groupon. Don't forget, you can catch me 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, with Rye, Dave and Daz on the Northeast Footy Brekkie Show, 7 till 9. And you can catch us on the Red, the Toon and the Cat and on Toon Radio's website. WhatsApp us on the day 0330 043 2002, the perfect way to start your day.